Become an ally. Rise above racism in healthcare.
You're watching Rogers TV.
4, 3, 2, 1, and...
Join me over coffee as we delve into topics that affect our everyday lives. And today I'm in conversation with Sara Martin, and she is the managing editor of Our Homes, Southern Georgian Bay and Grey Bruce. And today we're going to be focusing our conversation on staging your home to get the best value when you decide that you want to sell. And we have lots to talk about today. So
We do.
Welcome, Sara.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's lovely to see you again because we have met before. As managing editor, you did an article in Our Home about women in trades. And that was a wonderful show that we had on Grey County Life when several women stepped up and talked about the trades that they were in. And so I am really pleased to have this opportunity for another conversation with you around staging. Now, your expertise in Our Homes is staging for photographs, and we're going to get into that in a moment. But actually, what is staging your home? Because it's not what I thought it was.
I think that staging your home, it's kind of an odd word because when we think of staging, we think of a theater or something like that, and they put things on the stage. Really what it means is preparing the interior and exterior of your home to show it to its best ability and to appeal as many people as you can who are walking through it, who might be interested in buying it. And although we all love our homes and we love our furnishings and we love our little knickknacks, that doesn't necessarily appeal to every person who's going to see your home. So when they stage it, they are going in to create a neutral, clean, fresh environment that doesn't confuse people walking through your home, in that they are going to see themselves there. They're not looking at all your family photos or closets that are stuffed to the nines because you haven't had a chance to, get rid of a few things. Every element of a home then is prepared so that when people start looking and walking through, they can envision themselves there very easily.
Well, when we sold our home 20 years ago, I thought staging was just decluttering, scrubbing it from to no ends. Everything had to be clean and sparkling, and then putting a few things away. Didn't realize that you actually had to sort of depersonalize the entire space.
Well, I think there's elements of staging because it can be as simple. If your house is quite lovely, it's new, you have minimal furnishings, there's nothing that really jumps out that's a strong color or something like that. It is about just cleaning, decluttering closets, so when people open a closet door, things don't fall on them. When they open a drawer in a bathroom, that things are clean and tidy. And I think basically that is the easy side of staging. Then you can get into the fact that really a home is quite dated and it becomes a bigger project because a realtor wants you to get top dollar for your home. And sometimes the things that can be holding back buyers from putting in that very aggressive offer is them having to see a lot of things having to be done. And sometimes dated furniture, too much furniture, that can throw a possible potential buyer off because they see that as more work, therefore more money and time they've got to put in. Where if you kind of make those things a little less obvious, a buyer's going to walk through and not see work when they walk into the home. And to me, sort of that's staging. It's creating this very neutral environment that doesn't throw off potential buyers, that they are going in and they're saying, wow, this is perfect. Oh, my bed's going to be great here. You're keeping it neutral for them.
Well, we had Tracy Marsh join us in conversation, and she is House in Order, talking about decluttering. And then we had also Jennifer Morley, who's a realtor with LePage, Royal LePage, and they talked about around the issue of staging, and that's why I thought we needed another conversation, because this is a time of year when as soon as the snow melts, all those signs just pop up all along in our community. And staging now is really different than when it was a few years ago. You can actually make a contract a staging agent to come into your home, but that means that you sort of have to move out. They become props as opposed to your day-to-day living.
So when you engage a stager, usually, like you said, it's a contract of a certain number of days. It's usually is the ones that come in and totally put new furniture and everything else. I think that that is the extreme end of staging. And as I said, not every home needs that. When that happens, most likely, I would think a lot of the time it's because the home is empty, because that is another aspect of staging, because as we all know, when you walk into an empty room, you cannot visualize how big a room is. We all need something that gives it a perspective, whether it's just a queen bed or it's a chair. Then you can start to visualize how much space is there. I remember once that somebody took me on a house tour, and they said it was empty, the house, and they said, you can fit a king bed in here. And I looked and I said, there's no way you can fit a king bed in here, because it was a big empty room and you didn't have a perspective. You could fit a king bed, it was fine. So I think that the extreme end of staging is that element where they come in, a stager comes in with all the furnishings, decor, beds, everything, to put some life into an empty home. You then can kind of scale it back to maybe you only need a few key pieces removed. They can come in with fresh eyes, because that is another element of this whole business. We all want to think we can look at our house realistically, but we can't. We need fresh eyes, and not friends, because they won't tell you the nitty-gritty either. But you need fresh eyes, and stagers will come into a home that is somebody's thinking of listing, and it can be as simple as an hour consultation with a stager, because then they use their expertise to say, okay, that bookshelf, you've got to clean everything off except the books. You know, you need to take 2 chairs out, and they can give direction to that extent as well, or right up to moving a whole bunch of furniture into your house. So there's all these kind of levels of it, and I wouldn't want to discourage people who are listening thinking, oh, I'm not going to call a stager because I don't want all my furniture taken out of here, we have to live in the house, etc., etc. Those accommodations could be made. The other thing with staging is if you had them come in and just refresh your house, it'll be in conjunction with the realtor, who then will have a photographer lined right up to come in and do the photos. So then when real life takes over, the house has been staged, the photos are done, you can go back in and start living until people start to come through the home.
Well, that's the other part of your expertise, is actually setting up the photo shoots in terms of making the best presentation. So how do you go about doing that?
With our homes, with the magazine, we're in 11 regions, and to keep consistency within the magazines, when anyone looks at any region, the first thing we do is we always photograph with lights off. When realtors photograph a home or do the virtual tour, they have every light on, because they want a potential buyer to think, oh my goodness, isn't that house full of sunlight? A lot of the cases it isn't. They have every light on in a house. And I think anyone who's been through the selling a home and having a realtor do a showing and they come back in and every light is on in the house. So, you know, that's part of kind of a thing that is part of selling a home as well. For us, we do lights off, and we, again, a realtor, when they send in their photographer, they're taking photos of every single part of a room. And then when they do these virtual tours that they use a drone, they are showing every corner of a room, every hallway, up and down. With us, we go into homes and we are looking to present usually the main living areas, so kitchen, living room, dining room, primary bedroom, maybe one extra bedroom, the living spaces that most people use. And then when we start with our photos, the photographer who we work with in both of these regions, Sandy Mackay, who has been with our homes doing this for years, knows how to get the photo that we want. He then shows me the photo, and then I look at it to see if I see something that looks out of place. So are we slightly changing a room? No, but we're very isolating in our photos of showing a particular thing about a room, whether it's a beautiful waterfall island. We want to show that, and we want to show it to its absolute best. At that point, if perhaps, okay, so I'm going to use one of your decor things, which maybe nobody can see as we're talking, but if we were doing a shoot of a home and it was summer, that would be gone, because that says winter, it says Christmas.
That's exactly the thought that went through my head, because
I noticed.
I didn't wear a jacket today, and I'm turning on the Christmas lights going, whoops. I should, because we started filming in the winter.
I could get up and move it, but I won't.
And then what I did was I eyed around the studio and went, what can I replace it with?
But it is, so we are always very hyper vigilant when we go into a home that we're shooting, because we do quite a few pre-shoots, and homes, we do the photography, and the photos are held for almost a year. So when we go in, we know in our minds or on the schedule that that particular home is going to be in holiday winter. Okay, that's fine. That can stay in because it fits within the theme. Same thing when we take photos of anyone who is a local business owner who gets into some of the features. We're shooting, the last one we just did was spring, and we were shooting in February. So you would go and see these people, and you'd have to say, okay, we have to take the photo, and we can't have any snow, which was a challenge this time around, you know, and we just want you in a shirt, and we take the photo very quickly. So the same thing extends to homes. So when we present homes, we want readers to open the magazine and be transported into the season that the magazine is in for that issue. So all of those elements come into play when we shoot a home. And same with beds. It's like the bed, we don't want to see wool blankets on a bed if it's a summer issue. Those would come off.
Well, one of the things that I learned was that not too many pillows on the bed if you're staging your home, whether you're doing it through a contractor or whether you're doing it on your own. Get rid of the pillows.
The pillows are not, they're not popular with a lot of people, but I will say the one thing I see, and it's just my thing, are not well-made beds. And when people go to make a bed, when you have a showing, don't make it look like you just rolled out of the bed and thrown a duvet on it. Fluff everything up. Make sure the sheets are nice and clean. Fold the duvet back a bit. Fluff the pillows. Make sure everything's clean, and then walk away from it and straighten it all up. The number of times, and I will say, I mean, people get very well prepared for us when we come for the shoots, but still, I think beds are a challenge for a lot of people.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I have to think about that, you know, when I go into my own home. But the other thing too is draperies on the windows. I understand that that can date a house immediately.
Unfortunately, it can. Shears, they're sort of in some ways making a comeback, but in a more modern way, that you still have a blind and then you might just have shears on their own. They're not like part of a whole window treatment. I think that layering is something that can start to look dated, where you used to see people would do Venetian blinds, shears, and then curtains. It's all too much. And if you look at any of the big window covering manufacturers like Hunter Douglas, anything that they do is a lifestyle photo, not a product shot where they show it. That tells you where the trends are going with window coverings. And it is very, especially in this beautiful area we live, if you don't need to have blinds, don't. And if you do have them, make them pretty minimal if you can, because all we want to see is what's outside.
Well, that's one of the benefits of where I live, is the fact that we don't have to have any window coverings at all.
Lucky you.
And so, I mean, it's lovely, because that's when you open our front door, you can see right through to all the wonderful trees that we have surrounding our home, which is lovely. So I think that what I have learned through this is it's better to have no window coverings as opposed to outdated ones. And the other thing too is plants. I'm not a big plant person, but I do like to have a couple. But some people like to have a garden inside their home.
Too much. The garden doesn't work, it's too much. You're right, it's always nice to have one or two plants around, one on the kitchen counter, maybe a small one by a bedside table or in a bathroom. I prefer, for me personally, to see live plants as opposed to plastic. I know that some people just don't have a green thumb, so that's what they have to do, and I understand that. And there's some very good artificial plants that you can buy that I would be pressed to go, oh, is that real or not? But they add life to a home. And again, I think it brings in, which we haven't touched on, is showing a potential buyer that you care about your home. And seeing a plant is something that you have to take care of. And it's another element that maybe subconsciously it says to a potential buyer, you know, that just shows some life, it shows some interest. They obviously have to take care of it. But at the same time, if it's real, don't let it get out of hand. I did a shoot once and they had a plant that they were very proud of, and it was probably 10 feet tall and touching the ceiling. And I just looked at it and said, okay, make sure we don't put the plant in the photo, because it was out of control. It looked ridiculous. Okay. But no, tastefully done, again, within the season. If just before a showing you want to go and get a lovely pot of daffodils and put them into something, don't just put the horrible green container on that they come in, put them into something. It just shows life, it gives a freshness, and I think it says that you care about your home.
That was an aspect that I hadn't really thought about, but I do think that all these little touches, whether you're doing it, a professional coming in, or doing it on your own, but the little touches that tell you that you care about your home, even from making your bed to, I learned, to folding your towels, and opening the doors to your linen closet and seeing everything all lined up, maybe even color-coded or size-wise, but even your linen cupboards or your clothing cupboards, everything being really tidy and neat. I didn't know that I was folding my towels wrong.
You learned something.
I need a tutorial on how to fold towels.
Well, it is. It all just adds up to, I mean, telling a potential buyer that you do care about your home. You know, again, if somebody walks in and they open a cabinet in a bathroom and there's a tube of toothpaste that's oozing onto a shelf, how would you feel? I mean, you look at it and you go, that's disgusting. And so immediately you're starting to create negative thoughts to that potential buyer. And if it keeps going, I think they lose interest. So all those things, it sounds like so much work, but it's not, because once you get on top of it, it's very quick to put your house in order again for a showing. So it's just about setting those parameters. If you have to have a checklist before, you know, when the realtor calls and said, I booked somebody and they're coming at 10 o'clock, then have the checklist. And back to about caring about a home. Again, maybe it's all subconscious, all these little things, that a neat closet, a neat linen closet, neat drawers in your kitchen. When they open a cupboard, pots don't fall out, and lids and everything else. It shows, I think subconsciously, it says to somebody, they care about their home. I don't think they're going through their mind saying this is all staged. I think they're saying, oh, this home is neat and tidy. They're not going to have, hopefully, as many questions that could be negatives about it. Like, well, if they're not taking care of this, have they had their furnace serviced every year? Or is the air conditioning working? So all those things, maybe it puts those big questions a little bit on the back burner and just lets their heart lead as they walk through a home, which then hopefully creates a connection.
I often hear folks say that when they walk into the house, they want a wow factor. And I'm not sure that the wow factors are, 14 feet ceilings or big chandeliers or anything like that. I think I'm getting a sense from you, it's more about how you feel when you walk in and how the home has been cared for and taken care of, in terms of, we're inviting people to come and look at our house because we want to sell it, and we want you to feel welcomed, and we want you to feel comfortable, and is this the home that's going to work for you and your family? But I also delved into a little bit of research too, that you're also creating an environment in the home that you want to sell for the neighborhood, whether the neighborhood is full of kids or whether it's a neighborhood that's tending to have older folks in it. So how you set up your home for the realtor, whether it's professionally staged or you're doing it yourself, to entice the buyers of the demographic market that you're looking for.
I mean, I wouldn't want to say too much about that because I'm not a realtor, and I always think, when I think of the staging aspect, I'm more thinking about the neutrality of what a stager can do to a home. If, let's say, you've got neon green walls and purple furniture, okay, a stager can make that. That is not going to appeal to a lot of people. And as I said, then all that's going to do is create the question of, oh gosh, we're going to have to paint the walls, aren't we? Oh, what does that mean? Like, and what is this paint? Like, it's just starting all these questions. So I think for me, it's more about creating a general neutral environment, whatever the demographic is in the neighborhood, because I think naturally people who are looking for a home, that's going to kind of separate somebody who's older. Are they going to be as interested in that neighborhood that has all these young children and there's basketball nets at the end of driveways, or et cetera? Is that going to throw them off? Or maybe they'll say, no, I'd love to be here. So I don't think you should, from my personal take on it, I don't think it's about setting up your home for a specific demographic. I think you're setting up your home to sell it. And however you can do that, sell it. Whoever's going to come through it, you know, there's negatives and positives to every neighborhood, and what you think is a positive might be totally not what somebody's looking for, and they don't want to be there. Like, you don't have a family room. So even though it's a family neighborhood, there's not an extra room. Whereas somebody older, as I said, they could come in and go, oh, I love this. It's so lively. It's like an old style neighborhood.
I love a neighborhood that's intergenerational. Like, I just think those are the best neighborhoods. And we were really fortunate when we lived in Owen Sound that our neighborhood was really eclectic and all kinds of families and intergenerational. And it was just a really great little neighborhood to raise kids and to look after the older folks as well. Like, we always cleaned off their cars for them because we wanted to keep all ages and stages in our neighborhood. I just think it makes it the best. So that was really good advice. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I think it's the market, as we know, and I'm sure, I don't know what your realtor said, but the market's a little bit of a challenge at the moment. We're not in pandemic pricing or craziness that people were, you know, just buying things that they weren't really checking into.
Oh, yeah.
But so I think it's more just making a home sellable, and then it's up to the realtor to bring through whoever, and all you want to do is that anyone walks in, they're going to say, I would love to live in this house.
Well, you've given us a lot of really great information, and I really appreciate that. And not only from the little research that I've done, but also what you've added to this conversation. It's just been great. And I just have to tell you, I love our homes. There's so many ideas that I've gotten from the magazine over the years. I think it's great. It's also free. You can just pick it up anywhere and celebrate so much of our local community contributing to the magazine. I think that's a great asset as well. So I am, a big fan, and really enjoy the opportunity not only to speak to you as the managing editor, but also to read the magazine as well. And I have ones that I have kept for years because I just love what was on that page and how can I incorporate it into, I might just pick out one thing here and one thing there that just makes
fabulous. Well, and look at the homeowners that we feature and that are so kind to bring their homes to us. You know, they would be thrilled to hear that because they're proud of their homes. And that is sort of the other thing that we haven't touched on. You see, we don't change a home. We work with what is presented with us to get the photos because we want to show the individual style. So we're sort of a little bit different. We're showing it in its best possible light, but as in a realtor doesn't want to show that personal style. So there's a little bit of a difference.
Well, thank you very much. I'm getting the cue from our camera crew that it's our half hour is up.
Well, it was lovely. Lovely to chat to you.
So join me next time over coffee.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details. Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
This forest is a magical place. Is there anybody here?
From Disney.
Snow White.
Snow White.
Snow White.
I believe you're looking for me.
The classic story
Magic mirror on the wall.
comes to life.
Who's the fairest one of all?
Can you point me in the right direction?
Disney's Snow White.
This is a brain in urgent